Hey there, my name's Bren Vanderswag. I'm the president of GutterExperts.com and the founder of GutterCon, which is being held in just 29 days from now in Denver, Colorado. Leading up to GutterCon, I'll be doing a series of events, which I'll be chatting with a variety of people in the gutter world, speakers who will be presenting at GutterCon, suppliers, and regular gutter guys just like you and me. We'll be talking about their businesses and how they play a role in today's gutter industry. So I'd like to introduce you to my guest today, Justin Judy. Justin is a partner development manager for ArcSite. ArcSite has been known for its digital drawing capabilities, but has built a lot more functionality in recent years, which Justin's going to be talking a bit about today. How are you doing today, Justin?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Brent?
Hey, good. I see that you're working from home. You got some of your art up on your cabinetry there.
I do. Yeah, I've got a couple little ones at home, so they are in the art phase. My daughter's responsible for probably 90% of what you see.
Oh,
My
nice.
son does enough just to be represented, but she's the big art one in the family.
Yeah,
So yeah, I keep that stuff plastered all over the place.
yeah. Well, hang on to those. Get a box because you never know. It could be worth some money someday, right?
Yeah, I know she's got a filing cabinet downstairs because
Nice.
there's no shortage of it. If you could see around me a little more, there's art supplies
I
and
see
carts
it.
and
I see every cabinet has something on it.
yeah,
Awesome.
it's the whole house. It's every hallway, every doorway. It's
Nice.
not it's
How old
not
are
just
they?
the kitchen area. My son is 8. My daughter just turned 6, and then we have
Okay.
a 2-year-old as well.
Oh, wow. Busy family.
Very.
So, Justin, tell us a little bit about Justin Judy and where you've been working over the years and what brought you to when you came to ArcSite and kind of start there.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of cut my teeth in the sales world working for Best Buy of all places. I worked there for a dozen years of my professional career, did a lot of different things, everything from, part-time sales and seasonal all the way up to kind of a sales trainer, specialty manager role, where I would just kind of run a team of salespeople and help them develop their skills, things of that nature. Be kind of the beginning to middle of the pandemic, opportunity arose to come work for ArcSite. It was through a mutual connection. So I knew, the VP of sales here from chatting with him prior at a previous job he had. And they made, a good solid offer with a lot of growth opportunity and things like that. So I was able to join ArcSite and haven't looked back since. It's been a brilliant company to work for. The company culture is really what we pride ourselves on. And I don't really think there's really any debating that we have a fantastic one of those. It all comes from the people. So ArcSite has a very collaborative environment where we kind of run on more of a flat hierarchy where we allow ourselves to kind of have every voice be heard everywhere we go. And then we do that with our kind of all the way through, whereas like our customer feedback helps shape not just the way we operate, but the way our product evolves. So when you talk about some of those changes we've made over the last few years, a lot of that has come from talking to professionals in the industries that we serve and the different verticals that we work in. Obviously, gutters being a big one for us, and it kind of always has been. It's kind of had a good natural fit there since day one. And
Mhm.
a lot of the development work we have done has been with gutter pros in mind.
Well, since you said day one, how did ArcSite start? Like, how long has ArcSite been around? Who started it? And, did it
Yeah,
start out just as a drawing tool or what? Tell me a little bit about that.
yeah, absolutely. So ArcSite's inception kind of was the brainchild of our CEO and founder, Pei. Pei spent a lot of years as a product engineer for Autodesk, working on AutoCAD, things like that. So when it comes to knowing CAD, there's not many people in the world who know CAD as well as Pei. He understands it, and he also understood, which a lot of other people I don't think did or do, that CAD can be a little complicated for the average human, but it provides a lot of benefits. So he kind of set out to democratize CAD to the masses, to take the average everyday person who may not have went to school for engineering or may not be a CAD designer or have access to that sort of expensive piece of software to be able to still gain benefits of doing something like CAD design. So he created a mobile platform, something that's mobile first. You just draw with your finger on an iPad in the field, and it allows you to have all the same benefits, communication, accuracy, things that AutoCAD would provide. But he wanted that to be a normal part of workflows that wasn't a hindrance. A lot of the times, if you see CAD in a workflow, it's salespeople or inspectors go out, capture data, they send it back to an engineering team who drafts up stuff at a desk, and then eventually sends it back to the sales team to present to a customer or something like that.
Yeah.
With ArcSite, the goal is to allow the salesperson to take all of those steps and combine them into one, able to present a fully functional CAD drawing that's highly specific, able to be communicated and shared easily because it's digital. It's kind of very difficult to share paper documents without a bunch of extra steps. And then also be able to present a signable sales proposal on site automatically just from completing something as simple as drawing. So try to take a complicated process and simplify it to allow everyone to gain the benefits of it. And that was really the thought behind it. It did start just as a drawing tool. When it first came out, it was digital graph paper that was highly advanced. And then as it went, we started thinking, we as in pay, started thinking about different ways to enhance it and hearing things from our customers like, hey, if I drew this gutter run, it would be nice if it calculated that and told me how much metal I needed for it. And then it would be nice if I could add my price to that and have it immediately give me a takeoff report, a material breakdown and a signable sales proposal instantly without me having to do those extra steps. So ArcSite kind of grew and developed along the way, with the team members it had at the time, and kind of evolved into what it is today. It went from a small operation to a larger operation pretty quickly. I guess I would still classify us as a startup, but a large startup at this point. Just kind of one of those things where we're going through and evolving as we go. Every day is different than the last, and the next day will be different than today. So it's just, we are constantly adapting to what we know. And, ArcSite a year from now may look way different than it does now. But as it sits today, it's a digital drawing and estimation tool that allows you to combine the steps of drawing, calculating available materials, and creating an estimate into one step.
Cool. So does it have any ability, like CRM capabilities, like keeping track of customers or leads or things of that nature?
We don't. No, we actually don't intend to either. So we want to remain the best at what we do. We don't want to spread our wings so far where our foundation can falter, where we lose that support to what we're good at. As Pei has said on numerous occasions, he knows CAD, really good at CAD. We're a really good sales tool. We help the salesman close sales. We're not meant for the administrative side of things as much. We do partner with a lot of CRMs. We have integrations with a bunch of different ones like, Salesforce, i360, LeadTrack, different ones in the market that allow us to kind of support our customers in that way without us being the ones that do it, because we're not good at that. And I don't know if we're good at it. We've never tried to be good at it, but we don't want to try to be good at it. We want to continue to focus on our core competencies and make sure that what our customers have used us for from day one continues to grow, and we don't end up evolving into something that they're not intending to use us for.
Right. So this is something that you could, if you were a smaller company and you didn't have a CRM, you could, obviously start using your tool, ArcSite, as the drawing tool and a way to do estimations and so on. But it could also, even for someone like myself who already has a CRM that we like, this is just something that we could just use on top of it. I'm assuming everything that you do, you can create a PDF and all that stuff and save it. So even if there wasn't an integration, we'd still be able to, somehow integrate into our system.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And we're always, evaluating and looking at new partnerships and integrations. We do connect to Zapier as well, which allows us access to over 4,000 app integrations just right at the fingertips. So even if it's something we don't have a native one with, there's probably still an easy way to connect it, because we do have an open public API that allows us to connect to really anything. And kind of back to what you said there, we do have, if you're a small startup company and you don't have any software, you can still organize things by projects and folders. And there's a user site where you can search projects and names and addresses and stuff like that. But we don't do any like automation or analytics and a lot of that kind of stuff that CRMs are very useful for. And CRMs are a huge, critical piece of a growing business or a grown business. Just to allow you to keep organized. We like to serve that middle ground. Like if someone calls in and puts in a lead, we're not a lead capture software.
Right.
So they put that lead to the CRM, that data can then pass through to ArcSite. They use ArcSite in the field to close the sale, which is really where our strength lies. And then all that stuff goes back into the CRM for safekeeping, is really the workflow that most people see the success with.
Okay. And what sort of hardware do you need? Like, what's the best? I'm sure there's lots of ways you can use your software on different hardware, but what are guys typically using?
Yeah, at this time, we are iPad only still. We are working on cross-platform development, but it was built on iPad for a few specific reasons, and it still remains the best, even in testing, the best platform, most stable, things of that nature to allow it to perform at its best in the field. So iPad is really what we recommend. Luckily, we have seen the price of iPads plummet over the years. I mean, you can get literally the one that I use all day, every day. And I can promise you I use ArcSite more than anybody. And it's only, I think they're $329 brand new at like a Target or a Best Buy. So hardware doesn't become much of a hindrance to businesses anymore, like it once was when they were $1,000 a piece, you know?
Yeah.
So we haven't seen that be too much of a problem, but we are actively working on solving it so that way it can be used everywhere, because we understand that not everybody does everything in the field every time. And some people, maybe they don't want to. It's just, part of the process. And we've always been of the kind of the adage that we would prefer to mold to your sales process than force you to mold to ours. Right. So we're trying to give more options to the business owner and the estimator to do work the way they want to do it. So that's something we're actively working on and will be released this year sometime.
So is this something that if you show up on a job site with your iPad, do you need to be connected to the internet, or is it something that you can do offline and just do whatever after you get back online?
Yeah, you can do 90% of the job offline. There is one step where it pushes all the data to the cloud and pulls down proposal templates to build the sales proposal, because you can build out a bunch of different templates that are used for different reasons, different type of jobs, and it needs to know which one to pull by you selecting it. That step needs internet, but you can still draw, capture all your data and dimensions, load your photos, get your material list, everything without internet. It just comes down to needing it for that one step. Do you think it would be helpful if I have my iPad next to me. Do you think it would be helpful if I kind of just gave a brief 5-minute walkthrough of that, and then I can highlight what step needs that?
I think that would be a good idea, because I honestly, I have an iPhone. My wife has an iPad. I don't use an iPad every day. I use a Microsoft Surface, which is, like a computer, but I definitely get, the advantage of the iPad. So so you can just share my screen here, can you?
Yeah. I should be able to without an issue.
Yeah, I think that might be good, that everyone else could kind of see what you're talking about.
Because I know it's kind of hard. It's a very visual tool at the end of the day. Yeah. You're producing drawings, that they're visual by definition. So kind of what I was talking about with the projects, you can organize things by names, addresses, users, whatever it is that you prefer to organize your work by. Just for the sake of this, I'll just jump into a demo folder and a blank drawing. When you pull up ArcSite, it's just a blank canvas. You can simply, and I've seen a lot of different workflows in the gutter industry. Most people just draw the gutter runs. They don't draw the full profile of the house or the property, anything like that. You can if you choose to, but really it comes down to just think of this as highly specialized graph paper that you're just using your finger and a screen. So everything you see me do will be me doing things like going to my product library, grabbing what gutter I want to recommend to that customer, and simply drawing in that gutter. I can just draw a line with my finger on the screen. If I drew that out to 86 feet, 11 inches, maybe that's actually a 42-foot gutter run. One of the cool things about it is when you enter in the number, it will shrink to that size. It'll automatically stay to scale. It makes it so you can't draw out of scale. And you can simply just go through and jot in your different products. Maybe you have, and it knows you're trying to draw straight or arc lines. A lot of people ask that question. Like if I start to draw a straight line and I move it, it's like, hey, he was trying to draw a straight line. But if I'm trying to draw a curved line, I just drag my finger in a swoop without changing tools, and it knows I'm drawing a curved line. So cool. It's pretty advanced when it comes down to the how to use it piece. Then you can kind of draw in what you're drawing in. Maybe there's this, maybe there's a little run here. Maybe they have a walkway up front, so you want to put a drain tile here. We're going to go in and drop in downspouts and duplicate where we're placing downspouts.
Geez, do you want a job, Justin?
Do I want a job? No.
Yeah.
I am very content where I am and happy. So I don't plan on going back out into the field or doing any field work anytime soon. As you can see, I can sit in the comfort of my home and talk to gutter guys all day versus having to actually do the work. So I much prefer this angle, but it works for me. But I do really like being able to help and discuss things like this with people who are in the field, because like I said early on in this conversation, it's how we learn. I'm placing things like my drain tile wherever. I can drop in a quick legend. It shows you immediately what products you use and only what products you used in the drawing. You could even take it a step further and drop in something like a title block that allows you to enter in things like job IDs or crew IDs or whatever data your company wants to capture. You can go in and enter, today's date. I think that's the right date. I don't even know anymore half the time.
I think you can. Right.
Yeah, you can go in and drop in something like that. You can, shrink up your legend to make it a more reasonable size and place it where you want to place it on the drawing. And you end up with a really finished CAD drawing in a matter of seconds. You can go and throw all of your, or I should say minutes, seconds might be a little overzealous, but you can throw all your dimensions on stuff like this. If you want to know all the runs, you just simply hit add dimensions. It tells you how long each one was. So that way the crews in the sheet can see it. Go to your takeoff. It immediately builds all this out into a signable proposal. It's going to ask you additional questions like, hey, how are we installing these gutters? Maybe we're using hidden hangers. We're not removing and disposing of any old gutters. You can build in all the different colors and options for the gutters that you offer. If they have guards, if they don't, all that sort of stuff. Downspout, you can specify the length per each downspout, or if I'm just bulk editing it to save time, saying they're all 12 feet, which obviously they're probably not, but gives you an idea. And then you can go in and choose your gutter guard, how you're installing them. Are they roof straps, standard installation? Are we removing an old standard or removing an old gutter helmet or something like that? And then it builds all that into a proposal, gives you a quote of $1622.91 right there on the spot. You can apply local tax. You can even attach all your different warranty and scope of work documents. You can specify payment. We even have integrations with financing partners that allow you to, have your customer apply for financing on the spot if they need it to be able to close the job. Just another tool that we give you as an option to allow you to add that kind of to the repertoire. Maybe they want to pay $850 down today. They're paying the rest at the remaining. You then just export that out to a proposal. This step right here is that step you asked about. So when I choose what template I want to use for my proposal, that's when it requires internet. One feature, I actually want to back up 1 second, if you don't mind. One feature that I forgot to highlight that Gutter pros seem to love is our photo feature. It allows you to simply tap anywhere on the screen and take a photo. You can take a live photo of the house you're at. Or you can grab something from a photo library. So I'm not in a house or in front of a house to take a good photo. So I'll just go down and grab a quick photo of a house. Happens to be my house, but still a house. Then you can go in and draw over top of it. You could go in, make it red, choose your line weight a little higher, go in here and you can draw in, exactly where you're placing gutters on the house. You can go in and highlight where the downspouts are going to be. You can jot right over top of those photos. You can grab a little annotation tool. You can say, hey, here's where that drain tile where we're going to be installing is going to go, just for communication reasons. That stays right on this document as this little blue photo icon down here. You can go back and add photos to it. You can move it around, say, hey, I was standing right here facing this direction, and I took that photo. And you can do it as many times as you want. And then that goes right out onto the proposal as well to help review with the client exactly the work going to be done. Because I don't know about you, but I hear quite often that, the communication with the customer doesn't always go perfectly smooth. I'm sure at some point everybody has somewhat miscommunicated and had a differing opinion of how something was going to look.
Yeah, I can speak personally. The biggest issue I would say is probably the disconnect between, the estimator, the guy who was there on site, who may or may not, have a lot of installation experience, right? So, he may just assume something's going to be here, do this or do that, or maybe even been speaking to the homeowner about where a homeowner wants something. In my business, I typically leave the installers, use their best judgment, which usually is the right way. But like I just said, if a customer wants something, even if it may not be the best way, you got to do it. And if the estimator isn't there to relay that to the installation crew, and if doing this all on paper is good too, but I can see here the benefit here of having the picture and just like showing someone, the installer, what you're talking about, like that.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. And I'm sure if you're doing it with paper, you probably have some sort of a form that has like a header with a bunch of blanks that you can fill in, and then a footer, and then a grid in the middle or something to draw on.
Yeah.
You see those all the time. And we can build those same sort of forms into ArcSite if that's the process people like to follow. Like I said, we prefer to mold to you versus backwards.
So is that something you guys do, or is it something I can do myself?
You can do anything we can do in ArcSite, you can do in ArcSite.
Okay.
That is applicable. Obviously, we have development rights and things like that. But anything you would need to do with your own account, you can do anything as far as building out your own proposal templates, your own shapes, your own products. All that is completely at the user's fingertips. So it allows them to do what they choose to do with it. So you can go in and build all that stuff yourself, or we can assist you with it, whatever you prefer. It's all kind of part of the onboarding and setup process we employ. We still do that person to person. We haven't fully digitized that, probably because we don't really want to. It's something charming and nice about being able to help a customer through something versus like, hey, watch a video and go do this thing. We prefer to kind of have that human to human connection and help help customers grow the businesses at the end of the day, really what the tool is for.
It probably is better for you guys too, because I could see, a lot of people are, really kind of into this stuff, but it may be a little overwhelming to set something like this up. And if you don't know the workflow like you guys do, that would be a huge benefit to, someone who doesn't have a lot of experience with the iPads or with the technology piece that you're dealing with, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, we have a customer success team that, is literally dedicated just to helping existing customers. So, and that team is awesome at what they do. They've worked with, tons of gutter companies at this point. So they know a lot as far as tips and tricks and best practices and different ways to set things up and how to handle different calculations when it comes to corner miters and things like that, or wherever they want to place things. It can build all that into a simple line. You draw a line and it maths everything out, and it tells you the number of hangers and everything just from you drawing a line. So it's pretty handy when it comes to that, obviously. And then the end result, it builds out. This is just an example. Like I said, this page is fully customizable. You guys can make it look any way you want, but this is just an example with a basic cover sheet that it builds out. I mean, all of this entire sales presentation proposal was built purely from a drawing. You told it ahead of time what you want the proposal to look like. You draw the stuff, it immediately merges all that together and creates this. It'll go down, show them, what work is being done, give them descriptions of what it is. This one's bulk priced. You can have it itemized if you want. You can have quantities like linear feet of aluminum, things like that if you want. And it'll kind of give them an example of exactly what it's going to be. All these descriptions are typed in by you or by us on behalf of you, of course, to make it say whatever you want. And go down, specifies, how they're paying, what the deposit is. Go down any further, you'll see the drawing. They can literally sign directly on the screen. So, if on site you decide that they want to move forward with it, that you can capture a customer signature. Now that little photo has a number 1 in it. Now it's just corresponding with which photo that is that you took on site and all that sort of fun stuff. So it allows you to go through and save all that. If I saved the markups on the photo, it would have the markups on the photo, of course, but I just back out of that. So that's kind of ArcSite in a nutshell. That's the real brief, 5-minute, really high level overview of what it does. But it kind of allows you to simply draw something you're doing almost all the time anyways. Bren, do you do a drawing for every job you guys go out to?
I do. I've looked at, I'll go back to even, I bought the first generation iPad when it first came out, and I just thought it was awesome. I am a Microsoft guy. I have used OneNote a lot. Have you ever heard of OneNote? It's kind of like Evernote.
Oh yeah, I'm very familiar with OneNote. I worked for Best Buy for a dozen years. Remember, I got all that stuff in my brain.
Yeah. So I used OneNote a lot back in the early 2000s, I would say. And I even had what did they call it? A tablet PC, like it spun around and you could write on the screen. What were they called? Tablet PCs, I guess they were. A
convertible or a 2-in-1.
Yeah,
you hear a lot of things
way back. Yeah. And I used to do it, but I was always so scared to drop the thing because it was like a $3,500 piece of equipment, right?
Yep.
So you still wouldn't want to do that with an iPad, but there's just so many tools now with carrying cases and what have you. I mean, they're pretty. I wouldn't say indestructible, but they're construction friendly too now, I guess, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, iPads themselves they're so small and lightweight nowadays. Yeah. I don't use a big fancy one even. This is the base model. I mean, it's the cheapest one you can buy from a retailer. That's what I use, and I've messed around with the iPad Pros and things. They just get bigger. And when you're on site, I don't prefer anything larger. I prefer more portability, but to each their own. We have a lot of pros who use the 13-inch, the 12.9-inch Pro with the Apple Pencil, even because we have Apple Pencil mode built in. So we got a lot of different ways to support preferences. And it comes down to that, whatever people like.
Just to answer your question, though, I'm 50 years old, so it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks sometimes. So I still do use pen and paper, and I find that I don't know why I can't get rid of my pen and paper, but I draw it, I do everything I need to do, and then I just take a photo of my drawing, and then I upload it where I need it to go. But I can. This interview here is probably going to be, at least for me, I'm going to probably switch in my company to using this program. I can see right now. the benefit.
Sure. No, and we'd be happy to help you explore it and figure out if it's right, because we're not arrogant enough to think that our tool is perfect and right for every single company. Like I said, everyone has a different process and has a different preference and likes things very differently than other people like. Some people want to use a legal pad to do their work. Some people use graph papers. Some people like drafting pencils. Some people like digital solutions. Some people use a lot of technology nowadays, like laser meters and scanners to do work like that. Some people download reports from companies like EagleView to get all their gutter run measurements. You can do it a billion ways. We just provide one way that we know that works and that helps, and got a lot of case studies with gutter companies and things published on our website and stuff that kind of back up our claims. And I'll be really spending time at GutterCon talking about, the potential benefits. I always say potential because like I said, every company is different, of digitizing a sales process. And like, paper is great. It's easy. It's simple. It's what people are used to, but it's not always the most scalable. So the more you grow, the more difficult paper becomes to share and store. And you're doing that, of course. But if you had a team of 60 sales guys and everyone was downloading and uploading and taking photos and sharing and printing stuff off, it's going to just become a time hindrance. So obviously the bigger you get, the more important digital is.
You brought up a real good point that just happened to us this past week. So like I said, we take pictures, we call it a map. We take a picture of the map and we have a few photos, and we went to a job site and the photos were of a different house. They weren't connected to the right thing. So that becomes a problem. So I can see, how everything's connected to this one, file, so to speak, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, it even shows on the map, where the photo was taken, where the person was facing. So, I mean, it'll be as contextual as you can get it. Right. And we've built that way. That tool was another piece that evolved. It wasn't an ArcSite originally. We never we take photos. That wasn't our plan either. But yet again, people are like, hey, it'd be super helpful if I could just take a photo and put it there. So we're like, okay, so we did. And now that is becoming one of our most used features, or has become. That feature's been around a while.
So you showed how this is going to benefit the guys out in the field doing the estimates. Obviously, you got to get it to the person in the office that's going to be dealing with the estimate and or converting it to a work order. What about to the guys on the field? Like, how do they get the information? Do they have to have an iPad, or do they just have a printed copy? Like, how is that shared with them?
Yeah, I mean, we see it shared a lot of different ways. The most direct way is ArcSite is really two pieces. There's the field app, and then there's a user website. The user website allows you guys to go in and view any drawing, any project, any takeoff report, any estimate, any photo, anything that's been taken and created in ArcSite. So the crew members can, maybe you have an office admin who sets up pull sheets for the day or something for the yard to have the right gutter runs, cut before you bring them out. Maybe you cut on site, different workflows for different folks. But it enables you to have all that information in one place. And you don't need an ArcSite license to access that kind of stuff. So an office admin would be able to get everything, and they wouldn't have to be paying a per license charge, because we charge per license per month for our software, and it's for the people who need to draw and estimate in the field. The office admin is really just viewing kind of a read-only, web-only. And if it makes sense for the company, we'll just give you a web-only license kind of thing to be able to go in and view and work on that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
So you can use that data any way you see fit. Even the crew members in the field could just go to arcsite.com, log in, and view that kind of stuff,
Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. So what's next for ArcSite? Is there anything you guys are working on that you can tell us about, or?
Oh man. Somewhat. I have to keep certain things under wraps just because they're where they are in the process, but as it sits now, a lot of stuff for 2022 into 2023 is focused on supporting more customers through partnerships and integrations. So we talked a lot about cross-platform earlier. That is obviously one of the top of the pyramid goals right now, is to get that out and functional as soon as possible. So that way people can use the tool more places, because we hear it every single day, hey, does this work on this? No, dang, but like I said, people will still go out and buy iPads purely because of the benefits of what it can do, or possibly can do. I don't like to sound, like I said, too cocky about our program, but at the end of the day, we're working a lot on creating those strategic partnerships. So if anybody in the industry is like, hey, we really use this tool, this thing is great, we need this integrated with it. That's what I do here at ArcSite. I'm the partner guy. So I work and meet with these other companies. I chat with companies around how to connect our softwares, what makes sense for the industries, things like that. We support a lot of different verticals. Gutters has just always been a main one for us. And we've had a huge, footprint in it ever since we really started talking to gutter companies back, 2-3 years ago now. So yeah, what's coming up next for us is a lot more, I guess, spreading our network of softwares out to allow people to connect it more ways. The Zapier integration is new within a few months for us to allow you to connect up to, like I said, 4,000 plus other apps that are already out there in CRMs that you can just connect through that. So we don't even need to build native integration. So that was a huge piece because it allows us flexibility and speed to execution versus having to build everything one by one. You'll see a few announcements if you follow us on any of our social media platforms or subscribe to our blog through our website or anything like that. You'll see a lot of announcements coming soon about a lot of those potential partners. There's one in particular that'll be super beneficial to the gutter industry, but it's not at a place where I can really talk publicly about it, sadly. Hopefully within the next 2 to 3 weeks, I will be able to. So by the time Gutter-Con rolls around, hopefully I can talk about it. But as it sits today, it's still in that infancy of discussions of what makes sense and what gets publicized and what doesn't. But that's just kind of the nature of partnerships and software integrations, is we don't overshare until we know something is for sure, because it can get messy if you do that.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, ArcSite's going to continue to grow and evolve and release more functionality and new features and better ways to get your products and pricing in there and update them faster and easier than ever before. Because right now, obviously, there's essentially a price book that you can go in and update, but we're trying to get easier ways to connect that or update that. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff we're working on the back end to keep strengthening the product. It's good now, but it could be better. Obviously, it could always be better. If I ever don't say that, then we're at a bad spot.
Yeah, well, that's one of the big things nowadays with all the price increases with materials. I know for us, we've already had 2 price increases this year already. So it's something that seems like every time I'm on an interview like this, we're talking about price increases. So, so not that this is the last thing that we need to talk about, but obviously there's obviously a cost to this. So can you talk a little bit about that? Is it a standard fee or does it change from company to company?
No, it's standard. We have it right on our website. If you go arcsite.com/pricing, you can see everything we charge. We are not one of those companies who's like that used car lot that's like, see salesman for pricing. I hate that personally. So we prefer to just be transparent with our customers. It ranges anywhere from $60 to $150 a user, depending on your functionality and what you need. Anywhere in between there. And that varies customer to customer because we have different subscription levels with different functionality. Most gutter companies use the enterprise level subscription, which is $149 per user per month. But we have, a handful that use 60 and a few that use the 120. The 120 doesn't really match as well because it doesn't allow for a few key functionalities. Once you're at that price, the 150 just makes way more sense. So we have people who are using the essentials or the enterprise, depending on what they want to do with their company. And a lot of it has to do with growth, scalability, customization, integration. It just allows for more efficiency a lot of the time.
Is there any setup fees or anything like that when someone comes on?
We do have a standard onboarding fee of $7.99. We do have potential to kind of work that in different ways or waive it depending on the company size and structure and what they need. We try not to keep that as a standard. It is something that we have as a standard fee, but it is something that is definitely, I hate to use the word negotiable in the sales world, but it's something that we understand that, like, a new gutter company or a gutter company starting out with a new piece of software, a large upfront fee is both annoying and can be a hindrance. So if it makes sense, we give our salespeople full autonomy to not do that kind of stuff. And my boss might hate me for saying this on a recorded interview, but we do. And we do it intentionally because we would much rather, us make more money at ArcSite because Bren grew his company and added more estimators than we would charging you a one-time fee to do setup work that we're going to do anyways. So, we would much rather focus on the per license cost and say, hey, at the end of the day, our software allowed Bren to hire another estimator. Yeah. Now we're making more money that way. We would much prefer that and let you put your money, your $800 towards marketing or hiring or material or whatever it is you need
or
to
grow
a new
that.
iPad. Yeah, or a new iPad. Yeah, literally. So we would much rather enable your business to grow in different ways than charging you a thing. There are certain times where we have to charge it just because we know the amount of work is going to be a lot, or maybe it's a single user shop who, is just going to buy like a one license or something. And we know there's going to be a lot of setup and there's just no way for us to math that out and make that profitable. So that's why it does exist as a standard, but it's something that I
I
would definitely
totally
say
get
to
it.
talk
I mean,
to about.
I guess I'd say this out loud too, that I think people like people who own companies like I do or other gutter companies out there. They have to realize that like $150 a month is not a lot of money. I mean, no one's getting rich off of $150 a month. The
No.
setup, I can only imagine what would be involved in that setup. I mean, if you take someone in front of a computer, implementing all these things that you're talking about, I mean, it's going to take hours of work. So, to me, the $800 setup fee doesn't sound like a big amount of money. So,
Yeah,
there's
and
my,
it's
there's my
not. I mean, if you compare it to like other softwares in the industry, like $800 is not a lot. That is true, but we even try to avoid that sometimes if we can. So I don't know. It's just kind of the way we operate, I guess.
I think the other thing too that someone would have to look at is what would be the cost to set it up yourself. Like, I just know from going back years ago, using OneNote, how much time it took to set up all these things that you're talking about. So it definitely sounds like it could be something like this is probably something when you sign up with you guys, how quickly can you be up and running typically?
Oh, a lot of it depends on the motivation of the business owner or the person doing the setup, because obviously we don't know what to put in. You really have to tell us and give us the right information. But we've seen people up and running as soon as 3 to 5 days. I would say average is somewhere around the 3-week mark. 2 to 4 weeks, I would say, is probably average. For a gutter company, it can be a little quicker just because there's not as much variability a lot of the time with gutter companies as there is. Like we work in site inspection or like foundation repair type industries. There's a little more variability there. Or fencing. Fencing is an industry we work in that has everyone's completely different. So when I say a little bit, everything's variable. So that takes a little longer, but I would say gutters is 2 to 3 weeks on average, and you're in the field with it. Because we do all your training hands-on, and we can do like live and recorded Zoom trainings and stuff with your sales teams to make sure that they're up to speed. And that's all just part of it, part of the onboarding process.
Cool. Well, listen, I think this was a real great introduction to ArcSite. At least it was for me. I didn't have I've seen a lot of comments about it. And I know, like I said, a lot of the guys in the groups are using it. So I think for anyone who hasn't had a demo or hasn't heard about ArcSite, this was great. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone has more specific questions, I mean, arcsight.com has a ton of resources. You can all of our emails are very easy. I'm just Justin at arcsight.com. So if anyone has any additional questions or wants to reach out or get some more info on something, or maybe they want a demo and they don't know where to go to get one, just let me know and I can help you guys out on all that sort of stuff too. I mean, we don't charge for demos or anything silly. It's just purely like we'll help you explore it, low pressure. If it works for your company and it makes sense, great, use it. We also have no contracts. So if it's ever not working for your company, stop using it, stop paying us. We can literally do that on a whim. So we don't have anything that locks you into anything.
Yeah, well, that's good to know too. Okay, and I guess the last thing I got to say it, we're under 30 days to Gutter-Con, so
I know we're getting close. Denver's right around the corner.
You guys have just signed up with us as a sponsor, so really appreciate that. And you guys are going to be doing a little bit of a talk there too, and you'll probably have a little bit of a table and maybe a couple iPads there that people can actually try out, I assume, right?
Yeah, we'll have the software with us. It'll be me and one of our customer success members I spoke to about that actually does the setup and has that expertise. So she'll be able to assist as well and kind of share information. But yeah, I'll be there and I'll be chatting with anybody who wants to chat about anything, really. Anything gutters is always fun to talk about. So I'll be there.
That's what this whole event's going to be about. It's going to be all about gutters for sure.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming because the gutter industry hasn't really had conventions, networking events, a lot of stuff that I was super excited when I saw this getting put on, and we were like, all right, we got to get involved one way or another, today.
Well, really, thank you for that. And I will say another thing too, since I've been kind of gearing up for this over the past year or so, you'd be surprised how many little inventions are out there that people have said, oh, we'd like to, do something at Gutter-Con, or, it's pretty neat group of people, pretty innovative group of people for sure. So.
Yeah, definitely. And if we can all come together and just kind of share, and I'll steal this. Like I said, we work in fencing, and there's a guy in the fencing industry I know quite well, and he always says the rising tide raises all ships. I feel like that's super accurate, especially in the gutter industry, because if you guys just share the knowledge and best practices and in softwares and things you're using, it's only going to help everybody at the end of the day. I mean, it's rare that your neighbor gutter company's probably not going to be there sitting there and right next to you, but you never know.
Yeah. But everyone has access to this stuff. I know that I was using software in my business probably earlier than any other gutter guy in my area. And I remember the day my competitor asked me, "What do you use?" And I opened my mouth and I told him, and I said, "Oh, darn it. I can't believe I told him that." But then I thought, well, he could have just went out and researched it and done it anyway. It's not like I'm doing his estimates for him. He's still got to get the job. So, I totally agree with you. I think, we all have competitors, but I think what's going to be nice about GutterCon is, it's going to be, just gutter guys from all over the country, all over North America, really. So, the chances of your competitor sitting right next to you, although one of my competitors is coming, so.
That's okay. I'm sure he'll find it educational, right?
Yes,
but
exactly. At least we'll know what he's doing next year, right?
True. Yeah, everyone will come out of this doing the exact same thing. No, exactly. Probably not. But that's the cool thing about it is you can go take what you like, leave what you don't.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, listen, Justin, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. And I know we've been getting a lot more views each week that we do one of these. So hopefully you'll get some coverage out there and over the internet, and also come see you at GutterCon. So
I'll be there in person. I'll make sure to come shake your hand. So we'll talk in person when I get there.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Okay, Justin. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Brendan. Appreciate it.